I know that when I first started talking about this little segment within Sister Wives, I started calling this the apology tour. The apology tour. This is the apology tour. TLC was calling this the apology tour, right? Kody's going to visit each wife and, apologize for all the wrongdoing and make everything better. And here's the thing. I initially said that this wasn't an apology tour. This was a shut the F up tour. He wanted them to keep the wives quiet, wanted to stop them from talking bad about him. But as I thought about it, this isn't even the shut the F up tour. It goes a step further. This, in fact, is the back to basics tour. Okay. Kody isn't just trying to shut them up because that ideally that's part of it. But it goes beyond that. Because when we first think about when Sister Wives first started, how did it begin? It started out with Kody, polygamy, and this entire lifestyle that was being presented to the American public as an acceptable thing, a thing that's not threatening, it's not scary, it's not what you think it is. And in order to sell that idea, what did they have to do? What was a key component that must be achieved when you try to do that? The first thing you have to do, the most important thing you have to do, is you not only have to get the wives to not talk bad about Kody, but you have to get them to vigorously endorse Kody, vigorously support Kody, vigorously talk about what a great man he is, how he's a wonderful husband, how he's a present father. He's better than the monogamous fathers I know. He's such a great man. These are all things that we were told. And because we were told these things, many of us, when we watch the show, and this is part of the reason why the show was so popular, bought into it because the people who were historically considered to be the victims in these circumstances were saying, we're not victims. He's awesome. He's great. So as we watch this apology tour, I recognize that that's what he's trying to get back to. That's what he's trying to get back to. He's trying to get back to a point where his description or his personal narrative is not that he's not so bad or he's not the mean guy you think he is, but that he's just like everybody else. Not only is he like everybody else, he's an exceptional human being. Or in the words of the OG3, at one point or another during the course of season 20 this season, he's a good man. That's what this tour is about. So when we look at it, and like I said from the beginning, even though he was the great guy and a great father and a present husband who was always there for his wives and so generous, even though he had those resounding, sterling endorsements, he still ended up the villain. He still ended up the villain, mostly through his own actions and the way he conducted himself, but he still ended up the villain. So what he wants to do is he wants to do a hard reset on his image. And that's why we're having the apology tour now. It's not just him apologizing. It's not just him trying to, rehash and keep the women quiet. It's about him trying to get back to a point where he can be that good man. He can reframe the argument, which kind of gets into the second part of what I wanted to talk about. The real goal of this entire season, this entire series, is to create an environment where he can receive image rehabilitation. That's the whole reason why we're doing this. That's the whole purpose of the exercise. If Kody wants to rehab his image, he basically has two options. Okay, the first option, he has to get the women to publicly support him again, right? Come out and say that he's an awesome man and we were all wrong and we're terrible people because he's an amazing person. That's the likelihood of that happening, slim to none. If it does happen, people are going to turn on the wives, so that's not going to work either. The second thing that he can do is more in line what I think he's trying to do. He's trying to make himself far more sympathetic. What does that mean, James? He's essentially trying to apologize in a way where it's not about him healing the relationships. It's about controlling the story and storylines. That's why he's spending so much time monologuing. That's why he's trying to detail what he's sorry about, the things that he's done wrong. He's pronouncing, these are the mistakes I made. This is how I messed up. And this is why I'm sorry, because these mistakes were so egregious that I'm begging for your forgiveness. The subject of his apologies and why they're so strategic. The topics cost him nothing. These topics don't cost him anything. When he reframes the argument that I'm apologizing because I didn't say I loved you. I said I didn't love you, or I didn't want to spend time with you. That doesn't matter to him. It doesn't make him. It may make him look bad, but he can justify it, right? By the way he shapes it out. In other words, like ultimately, there's no real skin in the game because he's not really saying this is what I did wrong, A, B, C, D, and it's tangible. It's 100% my fault, and it's all on me. Right? The apologies quietly inflate him and his value. They overinflate his value because he apologizes for saying things like, I didn't love you. My love is so powerful. By me merely saying I don't love you will destroy your world because I'm that powerful and awesome. Being harsh during a breakup, saying mean and nasty things during a breakup. Who the hell don't say mean and nasty stuff during a breakout? Call their ex a name or slander their character or bash them for not having good money skills or not being good in bed or whatever. And they'll be married for 30 years talking about they trash in bed. People will talk trash about each other, and it's almost expected. And so because it's almost expected and it's so commonplace, it's easily overlooked and forgiven. Oh, he's just mad because he was hurt. He was going through 3 divorces. He was angry. He said some things he didn't mean. He was just talking out of pocket. Right? So it gives him a way out. The big part is it doesn't necessarily require any behavior change whatsoever. Because the only thing he has to do is not say the thing. I never loved y'all. If you sit there and say, yeah, it was a good time, think of the good times, baby. I loved you when I loved you. I used to love you, but now I don't. We used to be in relationships, but now we aren't. Could have got back together, but now we won't. There's no fear of him having to actually change any behavior, do anything. So that becomes a big thing with it. And ultimately, when we look at it, we have to look, like I said, it quietly inflates his value because he's being harsh during a breakup. He's giving you the freedom to move on. So ultimately, it starts to frame out in a position where he becomes the chooser. He becomes the person who he chooses to spend his time with, who he chooses to be in love with, who he chooses to do these things with. He's the ultimate decider. And moreover, he becomes the man whose love still has value because he's the one who's choosing to tell you these things. And because whether he loves you or he doesn't love you, gives you the ability to move on, or it'll keep you trapped in a cycle, in a circle, and you won't be able to move on because you're afraid that he didn't care about you and didn't love you. So he's the prize in that situation. And ultimately, he becomes the authority granting closure and permission. Let me say that one more again. He becomes the authority who is granting closure to them. I'm just trying to give you some closure. And I'm giving you permission to move on. So stop talking about me because now you guys can move on. You're welcome. Right? So it becomes a whole different thing. Now, when we talk about reframing the family collapse, and how the family fell apart, how the relationships dissolved, that becomes a different thing because these apologies allow him to redefine why the family fell apart. Instead of years of neglect, abandoning children, emotional potential or alleged emotional abuse, financial manipulation, potentially and allegedly financial abuse, right? The breakup instead becomes I said something mean when we were breaking up. The emotions were high. I was being left. I was hurt. My feelings were hurt. And that's what I'm apologizing for. Up until that point, I was a good guy doing all the right things. I was an amazing man, husband, and father. Then when we broke up, I said some mean and nasty no-nos. And now I'm here to apologize for those things. And if you try to bring up anything I might have done, if you try to talk about things that I might have done wrong, then that's you digging up the past, you try not letting things go, you not letting sleeping dogs lie. That's you being obsessed with me. Again, raising his value in this context. Then again, this turns him into the universally relatable breakup narrative. You know, then again, that turns this whole thing in to the universally accepted breakup narrative. We broke up, we said some things. It was I was uniquely harmed. I was torn to pieces. She destroyed my whole world. I didn't know what I was going to do. They were the mother of my kids. I felt so sad because my family was breaking apart. I didn't know what to do because I'm such a great family man. Boo ho 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 ho. So I said some nasty stuff. And then the worst thing you can say about him in that situation, he's just the guy who handled his breakup badly. And this is point 4. Why this strategy will not work. Why this strategy will not work. There's a big difference between apologizing and making amends. Okay? When you apologize or you give an apology, you're basically saying, I'm sorry. I feel remorse. I acknowledge fault. Right? When you're making amends, and this is actually one of the things when you talk about any 12-step program, 10-step, 7-step program, any of those types of programs, there's always a thing in there where you have to make amends. And that's not you going around just saying you're sorry. What making amends does, it requires corrective action. It requires you to change your behavior. It requires you to attempt to rebuild that trust by correcting your actions, changing your behavior. And it's all about repairing the harm you caused. You're trying to get them back you're trying to make those people whole. You're trying to give them some kind of retribution, something where they can look at it and say, okay, I can be whole now. Because you felt, not only did you feel sorry, but you did the work. And what I don't see in this apology tour is Kody actually doing the work. I don't see him making amends to these ladies. He's giving them a whole bunch of word salad, but it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. For instance, in Meri's end or leg of the apology tour, we can look at what happened during that conversation. There was boundaries versus control, right? Meri clearly set boundaries during the course of that conversation. Mr. I came down here to apologize for how we treated each other and for treating each other so bad. And I wanted to say I'm sorry and I'm going to apologize for everything. She set boundaries. What were some of the boundaries she set? 3 top boundaries. Don't talk over me, right? Don't shut me down. And ultimately, she said, stop apologizing for everything because it's starting to come off fake. So please stop apologizing. Let's just have a conversation and go from there. When Kody heard any of those things, Kody ignored each and every boundary that Meri set during the course of that conversation systematically. And if you're going to do that, what's the purpose of coming here apologizing in the first place? If you're going to do the thing that's been the cause of the injury in the first place, if I step on your foot and I break your toe, your pinky toe, right? And I say, oh, I'm sorry. Then I go put on a pair of work boots and I come back and step on your toe again, your foot again. That's not me being sorry. And it's certainly not me making amends. So we had that going on. And the ironic part is that when we know for sure that Kody understands what boundaries are. How do we know? Because when David brought up the kids and started talking about the kids, Kody was very quick to set his boundary. And he was very serious about the boundary he set. And he had full expectation that they would respect the boundaries that he set in order for them to continue the conversation. Because, if you guys don't respect my boundaries, we can't continue the conversation. So he knows what boundaries are. He just doesn't respect theirs. And that actually dovetails into another parts of the whole thing. When he did that to Meri, when he did that to David, when he did that to Christine, that told us everything we needed to know. And even when he said it directly to Meri, this apology isn't about you. It has nothing to do with you. And I agree with something else he said when he said, how I feel about you, your friends, is none of your business. Well, according to Kody, this apology is none of Meri's business. This apology was none of Meri's business because he wasn't there to apologize. That's not why he was there. He was there to monologue. He was there to reshape the conversation, reshape his image, reshape our experience and our perception of his experience by monologuing or talking his way through what he said was what was done wrong, what he did wrong, how they were affected, how it wasn't a big deal, and now that he's apologizing for it, they can move on from that bad place. This was all about the monologue. He wanted to create a dialogue and create a narrative. Or he wanted to create a narrative, not a dialogue. So he didn't want to talk to them or understand what was wrong with them or what he did wrong or how he could help them or how he could make amends with them because he wasn't trying to build bridges. He was merely trying to plant his stake his claim, and let that be that. Now, finally, I just wanted to mention this because I know that there are some people who are going to look at this, and even David, to a point, he said it. Well, we all got to get along because we all got kids. Here's the thing. I'm a big proponent of everybody getting along and respecting the fact that you have kids. You share kids. You should all be mature enough. You're mature enough to make kids. You should be mature enough to deal with each other and be able to function with each other in the same spaces, because you're going to have graduations, weddings, babies being born, potentially funerals, et cetera, where you're going to come in contact with each other, right? Now, as far as I'm concerned, there are levels to this. There's the, coexisting respectfully. There's the functional co-parenting level. There's also the structured civility level, where I don't come in and cuss you out. You don't come in and cuss me out. I don't say nothing negative about you. You don't say nothing negative about me. We basically leave this at a high-bye type situation. Hey, how are you? What's going on? They're essentially the same conversations that you would have with a stranger at a coffee shop. Those are the levels of conversations that you have with this person who you don't get along with. Now, I understand that there are going to be some people going to say, but James, you got to work to make it better. How do you work to make it better? Well, what you do is you improve communication. You come back and you try to talk your way through it. And you try to find common ground. I hear you. But here's the reality of it. You can't communicate your way into being loved. You can't talk or reason your way into being respected. As an example, if you have a man who marries a young lady in college or fresh out of college, they come out broke, busted, pockets looking like rabbit ears. She works 2, 3 jobs, putting him through grad school. He's going to school. He's working part-time. They struggle together. They suffer together. They build together. They grow together. And eventually they become very successful. If he at some point feels like he could do better, he wants more, he wants something different, or whatever the case may be, she can't sit him down and have a conversation on how she built with him and how she helped him become the man that he always wanted to be. And she helped him make his dreams come true. And then tap into that reason or that logic or that communication. He says, oh, well, you know what? I respect you. I love you. And I want to keep you because you gave some great reasons. You're not going to reason or rationale your way into it. When these women have a relationship with Kody, he doesn't respect them. He doesn't respect them. They're not going to reason their way into him starting to respect them. They're going to communicate their way in. I don't give a shit what they say to him. He's not going to just all of a sudden start respecting them. Right? What they need is a hard reset. And that reset, for them to be able to redefine who they are and reestablish themselves in Kody's life at some point, they need some time apart. They need some space so that when they come back together, hopefully Kody can realize that they're no longer the people that they were when they first started dating or when they first got married or when during the course of the time when they were married or even when they were divorced and separated. They've been apart long enough. They've grown enough to where you're dealing with somebody completely different. And you need to deal with me for where I am, not from what you remember. You need to respect me for who I am because I will no longer tolerate your disrespect that you've issued before. And if you can't do that, then we need to have structured civility engagements when we get together with the kids. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm interested in expanding this conversation. If you want to call into the call-in show live stream, that's Tuesday night. We have a Speak Pipe live stream, which is Thursday night. You call in to speakpipe.com/mytakeonreality, leave a message or a couple of them, and we'll respond or react to them on Thursday. And as always, we have the after show party on Sunday. So let me know what you guys think. And oh yeah, by the way, leave a comment down below. Let a brother know how you feel about the job I'm doing. If you like the way this is going, if you're liking the shorter content, let me know. Give me a 1 in the chat if you think it's awesome. 2 if you think it's not, let me know. Give me that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell for notification for stuff just like this. That's my take. I'm James, and this is my take on reality. And I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die.